Grant me 5 minutes in a locked room with this demon. Would you do that?
That is not how
Yes or
our...
no?
No, sir, I can't.
Would you give me 1 minute?
You know that I can't do that. That's not how our legal system...
Well,
It's touched our families, taking my child.
And now, we come to Larry Nassar.
The word Nassar will permanently be associated with child sexual abuse.
Larry Nassar, the former USA gymnastics team doctor, faced numerous sexual abuse charges in Michigan. He was accused of assaulting hundreds of gymnasts, many of them Olympians, while disguising the abuse as medical treatment. According to investigators, Nassar manipulated his athletes into believing he was a trusted mentor and caregiver.
You have to protect your athletes. You have to let them know that we care. You have to not let them know, but let them feel it. Let them understand it. Let them breathe it.
Nassar was eventually brought in for questioning, where he insisted that he was the one being victimized.
That's my self-torture, I guess you could say. That. Yes, she was victimized. Yes, I was victimized to myself.
Instead, Nassar shifted the blame onto the young women he abused, arguing they should have spoken up sooner. But why?
I don't get it. Why didn't she say something if she was feeling violated in any way, shape, and form? There was no communication.
Okay.
Nassar also attempted to defend the so-called medical procedures he performed.
If you don't have patient confidence and patient trust, you would have been having my here how many times?
Right.
Okay, especially when I'm doing this on 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, okay, with their parents there. But I'm obviously doing a doggone good job explaining things, okay, because what?
However, authorities mishandled the initial investigation, and Nassar was released. But as more and more survivors came forward, he was forced to face justice once again.
Has there been another complaint? I'm just so confused right now.
The reason I'm asking is that we did have another complaint.
Really?
Yeah. And it's a patient from a while ago. Do you ever get aroused during these exams?
I shouldn't be getting an erection during an exam.
This is why I'm talking to you about this, because this young girl and her mother both observed this on more than one occasion during treatment.
Nassar tried once more to defend his actions and play the victim, but this time, his excuses ran out the court wasn't having.
If there was arousal, it's I mean, like, it would be because of whatever. I don't know, but I'm not trying to.
Whatever, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
When you're a guy, sometimes you get an erection. It's like blindsiding someone. You know what I mean? It's like you're doing this, and you're doing it for good to help someone, and they're giving you the positive feedback that you're helping them. How do I know I'm hurting them?
Eventually, Nassar pleaded guilty to multiple counts of criminal sexual conduct. At his sentencing, over 150 of his victims bravely came forward to share their harrowing stories.
The word Nassar will permanently be associated with child sexual abuse.
What kind of a person has the audacity to sexually assault a child in front of their mother?
I will be out in the real world, thriving, empowering, and standing by others while you rot in a prison cell the rest of your life.
A victim described how Nassar destroyed her family.
You used my body for 6 years for your own sexual gratification. That is unforgivable. You convinced my parents that I was a liar. My father and I did our best to patch up our tattered relationship before he committed suicide in 2016.
The mother of one victim also spoke for her now-deceased daughter.
And I had been in the room with her during her examination, as usual. And I said, "Are you ready to go to lunch?" And she's like, "No, Mom, I just want to go home." And I said, "What's wrong? Are you in pain?" And she said, "Mom, I just want to go home." And I said, "Okay." So we got in the car, and I said, and she started bawling. And I said, "Chelsea, tell me what's wrong." And she said, "Mom," and they weren't gloved. And I said, "Chelsea, I was right there in the room." And she goes, "You couldn't see what was going on, Mom." And she said, "He hurt me." In 2009, she took her own life because she couldn't deal with the pain anymore.
However, no one could have imagined what came next when a victim's father asked the judge to address Nassar directly.
I would ask you to, as part of this sentencing, to grant me 5 minutes in a locked room with this demon. Would you do that?
That is not how
Yes or
our...
no?
No, sir, I can't.
Would you give me 1 minute?
You know that I can't do that.
He decided to take matters into his own hands.
Well, I'm going to have to get stuff out. Stay down. Stay down. Let me go. I want that stuff. Behind your back. I know. Give me 1 minute with that.
Grieving father was arrested and taken away by court officers after the dust settled Judge Rosemary Aquilina had some harsh words for the defendant.
Because you are guilty, aren't you? Are you guilty, sir?
I said my plea. Exactly.
As much as it was my honor and privilege to hear the sister survivors, it is my honor and privilege to sentence you. Because, sir, you do not deserve to walk outside of a prison ever again. You have done nothing to control those urges, and anywhere you walk, destruction will occur. I find that you don't get it, that you're a danger. You remain a danger. I am a judge who believes in life and rehabilitation when rehabilitation is possible. I don't find that's possible with you. Your decision to assault was precise, calculated, manipulative, devious, despicable.
Eventually, it was time for Nassar to learn his fate.
I'm giving you 175 years, which is 2,100 months. I just signed your death warrant.
I'm so horribly sorry that this was like a match to turn into a forest fire out of control. And I pray the rosary every day for forgiveness I want them to heal. I want this community to heal. I have no animosity towards anyone. I just want healing. It's time.
You used that position of trust that you had in the most vile way to abuse children. I agree that now is a time of healing, but it may take them a lifetime of healing while you spend your lifetime behind bars.
Ultimately, the disgraced doctor was sentenced to 175 years in prison. Larry Nassar's case remains one of the darkest sexual assault scandals in sports history. But what happens when someone like Michael Madison taunts a grieving father in court? Madison, on trial for multiple murders in Ohio, reportedly kidnapped and killed 3 women in 2013, then dumped their bodies in plastic bags near his home in East Cleveland.
It was a call about a bad smell that led police to this abandoned home and garage. 2 of the bodies were found here. The 3rd victim was found in an overgrown field about 100 yards away.
Police also discovered decomposed human remains inside Madison's apartment, adding further horror to the investigation.
There was evidence of decomposition fluid, several parts of the apartment building. There were maggots that were attached to the decomposition fluid.
Madison was arrested and charged with 3 counts of aggravated murder. If convicted, he faced the death penalty. During the trial, his defense argued that the killings were spontaneous and committed in the heat of the moment.
That each one of these individuals was killed with a sudden eruption of violence, not a considered course of action as required by prior calculation and design. He made no effort to bury these bodies and really conceal them, despite the fact that they're in fairly obvious areas.
However, the prosecution countered, claiming Madison's actions were calculated and premeditated, not impulsive.
He killed them in the same way, at the same place, and in a short time frame. Then he disposed of their bodies. To avoid detection from his crimes, he tied 2 of the victims up with duct tape, placing their legs on each side of their head and bending the body in half.
Eventually, Madison was found guilty on all counts, leaving the victims' families in tears, this time tears of relief and justice.
Number 9.
Yes.
Number 10.
Yes.
We therefore unanimously find that the sentence of death should be imposed upon the defendant, Michael Madison.
At his sentencing, Van Terry, the father of a victim, confronted his daughter's killer directly in court.
Right now, I guess we're supposed to, in our hearts, forgive this crime. It's touched our families, taking my child.
He stared directly at Madison, who smirked off camera. This is when Terry finally erupted. Fortunately, Terry was quickly restrained and removed from the courtroom, facing no additional charges. Shortly after, Judge Nancy McDonald took the bench to address the court.
I am struck by the sheer inhumanity of what one human being could do to not one, but 3 human beings.
She described the murders as an act of sheer inhumanity.
It is incomprehensible. You cajoled, lured, and deceived Shatisha Shealy, Angela Deskins, and Sherelda Terry to your apartment for your depraved purposes.
Finally, the moment arrived for the serial killer to face his sentence.
Upon consideration of the relevant evidence, the testimony exhibits admitted in mitigation, it is a judgment of this court that the aggravated circumstances of course of conduct, felony murder, kidnapping, felony murder, rape, of which the defendant was convicted, outweigh the mitigating factors by proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Accordingly, the sentence of death is imposed upon the defendant Michael Madison on counts 1, 4, and 7.
Michael Madison was sentenced to death in Ohio, facing the full consequences of his crimes. Meanwhile, Christopher Elwell, 28, faces child sexual assault charges in New Hampshire after allegedly assaulting a minor and showing sexually explicit videos.
They described him showing them videos of sexual acts similar to the ones that she had done.
After initially denying the claims, Elwell eventually pleaded guilty, including for failing to register as a sex offender from a prior conviction.
The defendant was required to register as a sex offender and had been living at 12 Mineral Park Drive off and on, but more than 5 times a month, and had not changed his registration with the Somersworth Police Department.
After learning his sentence, Elwell was seated next to another inmate, Josiah D. Davies, awaiting his hearing. Suddenly, Davies began headbutting Elwell repeatedly. Elwell remained seemingly unbothered as court deputies quickly intervened. Davies was later charged with felony assault. As for Elwell, he was ultimately sentenced to 7.5 to 15 years in prison, though some might say he received justice from an unexpected source. But what happens when the one delivering that justice is your cellmate? That's the case with Stephen Sanderson, who's facing murder charges in Michigan.
The reason I killed him was because he was a child.
Interview with prisoner Sanderson, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and explain to me basically what you told the staff when you came out of the cell.
According to reports, Sanderson, already serving life without parole for a 1991 murder, attacked and killed 67-year-old Ted Dyer in their prison cell. Later, he gave a chilling confession to police.
Why don't you just go ahead and tell us what happened?
All right, I guess he decided to clear his conscience or something, but, he told me what he was in prison for, that he had, was accused of raping an 11-year-old girl, and he got 25 to life for it. And, I told him that's enough. I don't want to hear any more. I first, punched him a couple times, still wouldn't shut up. Still kept telling me he wanted to explain that he didn't do it, that he was being set up and all this stuff. And I don't know, I just got mad and then hit him, and then I killed him. When I hit him and knocked him out, and then I took the shoelaces out of his shoes, tied them together, wrapped it around his neck, and killed him.
He eventually pleaded guilty to the murder charge.
How do you wish to plead to the second count of murder and the second guilty?
Yes, sir.
And doing so freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Doing so because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
In court, Sanderson justified taking his cellmate's life by providing a specific reason for his actions. In court, Sanderson justified taking his cellmate's life by providing a specific reason for his actions.
The reason I killed him was because he was a child molester.
Back in 2014, Dyer was convicted of sexual criminal conduct for molesting a 9-year-old girl.
All right, well, he was my bunkie, and I had found out that he was in prison for child molestation. Really bad case. So that night he was trying to justify why he did it, and I just told him to be quiet, and he would have to leave in the morning to find a new cell. But he continued to talk about it and try to justify it. So he was a little bit bigger than me, so I got down and I hit him in his face a few times. And when he fell, I wrapped a cord around his neck and I took his life.
As part of the guilty plea process, Sanderson's lawyer confirmed the basic details of the case.
But you did in fact kill him. Oh, sure. And you intended to. Oh, sure, yes.
At his sentencing, Sanderson spoke about the public reaction to his actions following the murder.
Since this all happened, it's kind of been, people think I'm some kind of hero. Well, I'm actually not.
I just, did what I thought was best.
He stated that Dyer's true judgment was still to come.
I've been getting these emails saying that, it's not my position to judge anybody. And I want to make it quite clear that I didn't judge him. I know God is the only judge we have. I've just set the appointment up.
Sanderson displayed no remorse for his actions, even claiming he would do it again if given the chance.
I don't feel bad for what I did. I feel bad for maybe his family or something. But as far as remorse towards him, no.
While Stephen Sanderson claimed vigilante justice, a very different tragedy unfolded in Indiana, where Quinn Bose faces charges for the death of his 11-week-old son. According to reports, 23-year-old Bose allegedly killed his infant at their home in Gibson County.
In Gibson County, a plea deal has been reached in the case of a man accused in the death of his son.
Initially, Bose told authorities the infant had stopped breathing after falling from the bed. However, investigators determined the death was caused by blunt force trauma to the head. Bose eventually pleaded guilty to domestic battery resulting in death. Then, at his sentencing, a shocking moment unfolded. As the heavily shackled Bose was leaving the courtroom, he was met with a sudden flurry of chaos. Quinn Bose was sentenced to 25 years for the murder of his son, while his brother, Jeremiah Harley, faced jail time for attacking him in court. If you found this video gripping, like, comment, and subscribe, and tell us your thoughts on this case below.